Scaling a thriving business, tapping into your creative potential is key to building lasting success. Through our signature economic empowerment initiative, Sister-Nomics, we affirm our philosophy of self-preservation in all financial decisions, a commitment to honor ourselves and our sisters by prioritizing economic empowerment and sustainability. As we focus on entrepreneurship this week, we recognize that creativity is the spark that drives visionary leadership, dynamic problem solving, and community transformation. When we unleash our creativity, we open new doors for wealth building, influence, and lasting impact. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Together, we are building a future where Black women entrepreneurs not only lead, but innovate boldly, thrive unapologetically, and redefine what is possible. Let's make this a transformational evening and an unforgettable small business week. Let's elevate. It is my pleasure to introduce a dynamic and dedicated leader, Ms. Katrina Kerr. Katrina served on the National Board of Directors for the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Incorporated. It is my pleasure to introduce a dynamic and dedicated leader, Ms. Katrina Kerr. Katrina served on the National Board of Directors for the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Incorporated. It is my pleasure to introduce a dynamic and dedicated leader, Ms. Katrina Kerr. Katrina served on the National Board of Directors for the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Incorporated. It is my pleasure to introduce a dynamic and dedicated leader, Ms. Katrina Kerr. Katrina served on the National Board of Directors for the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Incorporated. It is my pleasure to introduce a dynamic and dedicated leader, Ms. Katrina Kerr.
I'm not sure what's happening
Katrina
there
served
with
on the
Zoom.
National Board of Directors for the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Incorporated. It is my pleasure to introduce a dynamic and dedicated.
Okay, I believe I've stemmed whatever technical issue that was, ladies. Let's go ahead and continue, please. Katrina, you can go ahead with your introduction.
Okay, there it is. All right. Thank you, Madam National President Virginia Harris, Virginia W. Harris. A warm welcome to all members, leadership, and guests of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women Incorporated. I'm Katrina Kerr, the chair of the National Economic Empowerment Committee. We all know that Sister-Nomics has 5 core competencies: financial literacy, wage and pay equity, entrepreneurship, home ownership, and youth financial literacy. Tonight's webinar will feature a dynamic speaker who is here to talk to current and prospective entrepreneurs and small business leaders seeking to harness creativity. I will now turn it over to our National Economic Empowerment Co-Chair, Terry Jones. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair Katrina Kerr. Good evening, everyone. Tonight's guest is someone who truly embodies innovation and leadership in her field. I'm inspired by her work, and I know you will be too. Before we dive in, let's take a moment to highlight her incredible journey. Dr. Felicia Phillips is an internationally recognized TEDx speaker, serial entrepreneur, and philanthropist with over 30 years of business experience. Dr. Phillips is the CEO and master strategist at NCBW Incorporated, a 2-time award-winning consulting firm specializing in program management and supplier development. She also serves As the president and CEO of Heartland Solutions, Inc., a full-service commercial and industrial construction firm, Dr. Phillips has established herself as a visionary leader, driving organizational success while fostering significant social and economic impact. As the founder of the 1 Million Dreams Foundation for Entrepreneurship, Inc., and visionary behind the MogulCon, Phillips has created a nationally renowned platform that educates, connects, and elevates business owners. This annual event brings together influential speakers, corporate leaders, government agencies, and entrepreneurs, equipping participants with access to opportunities, resources, strategies, and a supportive community for success. In 2020, the organization received a multi-state strategic alliance agreement from the Small Business Administration to assist with continuing their work with small business owners. She believes that the measure of an entrepreneur's true success isn't the heights that they reach alone, but the elevators they build for others on their journey. Dr. Phillips has guided over 6,000 entrepreneurs to build sustainable businesses. Her customized growth strategies and expertise in leadership make her a sought out advisor across all stages of business development. She has been featured in the Huntington Post, Yahoo Finance, Black Enterprise, Rolling Out in Upscale magazines, Sheen, CBS, Fox, BET, and TLC networks, and many other media outlets. Dr. Phillips has had the pleasure of working with Delta Airlines, Southern Company, Burns and McDonald's, Pathwords, Grady Health Health System, Wells Fargo, City of Atlanta, Papa John's International, MasterCard, Live Oak Bank, and many, many more. Beyond her business adventures, Dr. Phillips is a champion for women in underrepresented communities. She serves on multiple boards to include Girls Inc. of Greater Atlanta, the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Inc., and Border Light Cleveland. Dr. Phillips has been celebrated as one of the top 100 women of influence in business and is a recipient of the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award from President Joe Biden. These accolades highlight her exceptional contributions to business, innovation, and service. Dr. Phillips is a native Atlantean, a wife of Anders Phillip, and a mother of 2 adult children, Sierra Elise and Grant Alexander. Sisters, get ready to take some notes because this is going to be a great discussion. So please join me as I welcome now Dr. Felicia Phillips. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I am excited to be with you this evening. Thank you so much, Terry, for that amazing introduction. And I'm honored to join you for NCBW's Small Business Week as we celebrate and empower Black women entrepreneurs. And our theme, Pathways to Prosperity, Breaking Barriers, Building Bridges, is not just a call to action. I want to say that it is a blueprint for our collective future. I'm going to be sharing my screen now, just for a little brief. Let's get that set up. Brief presentation. There. Awesome. So let's get into it. Why are we choosing this theme? So this theme resonates deeply with me, and I'm sure it does with all of you, because it's about economic empowerment and overcoming the barriers we face and building a legacy for those who come after us. And today, I'd like to explore with you how we can turn these pathways into highways for prosperity. And so let's talk about some of the things we know for sure. The first one is that Black women are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in this country. Yet we face unique challenges, limited access to capital, mentorship, and systematic support. That's why initiatives like NCBW's Sister-Nomics are so vital, focusing on financial literacy and entrepreneurship as tools for generational wealth. One of the things I've come to understand is that when it comes to Black women, we tend to go into entrepreneurship because of necessity. Necessity could mean that I'm not making enough on my job, or I'm not being appreciated on my job, or my job has been phased out. And so we look to entrepreneurship as a tool to help us gain wealth. And that's why this conversation is so important. And so when we look at the challenges we face, we have to be real about the barriers that we see, from securing financing to finding the right mentors or coaches to battling those systematic biases and operational challenges. What we know is that the road is not always smooth. And so we have to recognize these obstacles as the first step to overcoming them. I love this statement. Creativity is the engine of innovation, resilience, and growth. I want to tell you that creativity is not a negative word. And when it comes to entrepreneurship, it is very vital. And when we start to think about success strategies, and if you've ever heard me speak, I am always talking about strategy. One of the things we have to start doing is developing a strategic plan. Why? Because it is your roadmap to success. And anytime you feel challenged on your entrepreneurial journey, that strategic plan is what you go back to. It is your GPS on this journey. And so when we think about it, we have to think about, how do we break through? We get creative. We have to start looking at funding grants, working with CDFIs. Those are your community development organizations that specialize in finance for small businesses. And you have to think about those community lenders. So yes, we know the Bank of America's, the Wells Fargo, but I want to challenge you to get to know your small community bank. You need to work with a lending institution that can be agile and understand your needs. And then get out from behind the computer. You've got to get out and network. And really, more than network, I always say is purpose work. You got to have a strategy when you show up to those events. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. Don't be afraid of technology. Technology level sets. I remember years ago, there was a book called The World is Flat, and it talked about how technology was available for everyone. And now you have the opportunity to truly build a global business through things like e-commerce. And so we have to be open to technology and innovation. And above all, we have to stay resilient and be adaptable in the face of change. And so we ask ourselves, why do bridges matter? I want to say this. Don't be opposed to collaboration, because collaboration multiplies impact. I will share that on my journey, I know that I would not have been able to do a lot of the big opportunities that have come my way had it not been for collaboration. I am really big on strategic partnership agreements. You don't necessarily have to do a joint venture, right? You can partner based on opportunities to expand capacity. Oftentimes, when we try to go at it by ourselves, we're actually limiting our growth. And so we have to open our minds to the possibilities of what partnering can do for us. And understand that mentorship accelerates your growth. And so we want to make sure that, we got to the end there. Let me go back. We want to make sure that we're doing the things that are going to keep us moving forward with our small business opportunity and with the vision that we have around our small businesses. So make sure that you are looking at collaborating. even if it's collaboration from the standpoint of you're connecting with a new community. Oftentimes, when we go into business, the first sales that you get, right? Those first opportunities tend to come from friends and family. I almost call those sympathy opportunities, right? Because you're my friend, or I believe in what you're doing. And so we want to see you can succeed because you're family. But when all of that goes away, what happens to small businesses oftentimes is that they will plateau. And so getting those partnering opportunities allows you to expand your reach and to connect with audiences you may not connect with every day in your marketing or in the channels that you use to move your business forward. I often like to use real world examples of creativity at work. And so if you think about Issa Rae, she used YouTube to bypass those traditional media outlets to get her brand out there. And one thing about social media is you have to think outside the box. I'm sorry, about creativity, you have to think outside the box. So we want to think about ways that really help us to expand our brand. You know, think about, I believe it was Girls Trip, where they used an iPhone for a lot of the movie, right, to film the movie. And what that opened us up to is that how powerful these smartphones that we use every day can be to our businesses, right? It's a great way to create content, to get your messaging out. And so when you are building a business, I always say no stone is left unturned, right? You have to be able to think outside the box. And that's why your strategic plan is so important. Even when we think about companies like Spanx. Now, I don't know about you, but I personally invested a lot in Spanx, right? So I use these stories just to help you realize that creativity is very important when it comes to breaking through those barriers. And so I don't want you to, there are everyday challenges that we miss the opportunity on. Where there is challenge, there is opportunity. So as you go through and you say, oh, I wish I had, or I wish there was someone who made XYZ, guess what? That someone can be you. Because as you acknowledge these challenges, reframe your thinking to how can you be innovative and provide a challenge, an opportunity for that existing challenges. So when we think about the building of bridges, how do we do it? Goes back to strategy. Think about this. The next time you attend an event, think about 3 people that you want to meet. Look at who's going to be at the event that you could connect with, but also understand what is my why for connecting with them. I want you to identify potential collaborations that can move your business or even your business idea forward. And don't be afraid to share your journey and the lessons that you have learned along the way. And the reason I say that is oftentimes when I've seen people share their journey or tell their story, you would be amazed at the people who want to help you, who want to bring opportunities forward for you. It's like the old adage says, a closed mouth does not get fed. And so as you are taking notes and you're thinking about what it is that you want to do, or if you are running an existing business, start to talk about your journey and share your journey. Ask for what it is you want. Oftentimes, we don't ask for what we want because we're afraid of being judged. And I will tell you, sometimes, yes, you have to ask for help. So don't let ego get in the way of moving your vision forward. I want to ask you this, and you can pop it in the chat. I'm going to open up the chat. What's one creative action that you are willing to try this week or even tonight? What is one creative action that you could do? I'm going to give you a quick second to think about that. And if you would be kind enough to kind of drop that in the chat. Okay, use AI for marketing. Absolutely, Dion. That is perfect, because one of the things I will tell you is that when you're using AI, make sure you use the right prompt. So tell it to act as a marketing expert that has previous experience with a large marketing agency. Make sure you tell it the industry that you're in and what outcomes you're looking for so that it can create the right marketing plan for your business. I see replace more vendors to people of color. That is very good. That's diversity there at action. Get back on my YouTube channel like Issa Rae. Absolutely. Don't stop. Don't stop. You know, the enemy attacks us by either keeping us busy or creating fear. Provide a 1 minute and 30-second video on your story. I love that. Absolutely. Create a website for your business. Yes. And make sure when you create a website, have a global mindset. Oftentimes, when we go online, we kind of tend to talk to people within our geographical area. Remember this, that www stands for World Wide Web. And I will tell you that e-commerce is leveling the playing field. And the countries where the middle class are increasing the fastest is not the United States, it is China and Africa. So make sure as you build these platforms that people visiting your site have the ability to change it into their language. All right. Thank you all for participating. And so just some brief takeaways. Let creativity lead. It is your bridge to prosperity. You know, things have changed dramatically, not just this year, but over the last decade. And so we have to be more innovative in our approach to business. We have to start to build out business communications that speak to our target audience. And we have to take smart action, right? Those small steps that lead us to the bigger outcomes. One of the things I do want to share with you is to make sure that you include metrics along the way. That way you can track your success. So you should have KPIs in place that allow you to see how your work is paying off. It could be something as simple as tracking your revenue through QuickBooks, and everybody should have some type of accounting software for their small business so that you can see those metrics. And then that will tell you what you should be doing and where you should be focusing your time. Leverage support systems. Organizations like what we have here in the National Coalition of 100 Black Women is priceless. Leverage your community, the support systems that are in place, and make sure that you are being true to your vision. And what I mean by that is that we commit time to so many things. Make sure you're committing time to your vision. And make sure that you are writing out your vision, that you have a clear understanding, and that you can articulate your vision with clarity so that people can buy into it and support you. So I'm curious to know, what is one barrier that you faced? You can drop it in the chat. And I want to ask you this because sometimes as we face barriers, we tend to drop it because it seems hard or we don't know how to overcome it. And then I want you to think about what creative resource or tool would you recommend that has been working for you that you can share with the women online. And if you are a small business with a team, how do you keep your team inspired? These are 3 questions that I often ask myself, and I wanted to put them out to you to really go back and look at the barriers you face, how you can possibly overcome them, those creative resources that you may not be using on all the time, how you can share them with this community, and how do you keep your team inspired? And I want to share briefly why I put that last one there. Oftentimes when we're building a small business, we just hit the ground running. And we don't think about things like building community, having a culture within our company. And those things are very important today because people want to have a sense of belonging. And that's why I was saying that your vision needs to be palatable, right? They've got to be able to take it in and run with that vision. And so it's important that you keep them inspired, that you share the vision, that you go back over the strategy for that particular season with them so that they feel that they have buy-in and that they are a part of it. So those are some things I want you to think on tonight. Thank you so much for allowing me to share. I know we're going to have a time for Q&A, so I wanted to stop here and open up the floor for some Q&A.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was a lot of nuggets. So I'm glad I told everybody to pull out their pens to take notes, and hope they did, because I did. So we're going to open up for questions, but I had a few that I jotted down while you were speaking. And so you mentioned of how creativity within a small business is so vital. So what are just some simple daily habits that we can try to incorporate to boost our creativity for those who are just trying to figure out the process?
Absolutely. So, for me, I always start my day with the end in mind, right? You have to start your day with intention and clarity. And so I always tell people just set some time aside each morning for reflection. I used to do this exercise where I would look at my calendar for the day, my meetings, anything that I had, and I would really envision what I wanted to happen in those meetings, right? I'm putting my intentions out, and I do believe in the power of manifestation, right? So I do a lot of reflection. I do a lot of journaling. I was laughing the other day. I went to my office and I had literally 50 journals in there where I have written different things and ideas that I have. And so I think it's really important for us to stay curious. Stay curious, read, listen to podcasts. There are so many different podcasts where you can gain information based on what it is that you have a vision for. And just stay the course. I know that it's easy to get discouraged when things don't work out the way you want them to, but we have to stay resilient. And really, when you think about it, creativity is a muscle, right? You've got to exercise it and you have to stay strong. So those are some of the things that I would recommend.
Those are great. And then kind of along with that, then how can small business owners identify and overcome like creative blocks? What is, even just within their teams to keep them inspired?
So, when you think about it, you've got to know yourself, number one, right? Because you have to be able to recognize the signs of decreased productivity, repeated ideas like, oh my God, why am I doing this again? I know this is not going to work, right? When you start to have lack of enthusiasm for what you're doing, or that you're resistant to feedback. Your team is trying to tell you something, or someone that provides a safe space for you is trying to, pull your coattail a little bit, and you're pushing back or you're resistant to what they're saying. Because as a leader, one, we have to take care of ourselves. And especially as we age and we gain wisdom, right, in our lives, we have to take better care of ourselves because it impacts everything that we do. I will tell you that in what I do, because like now I've been on the road for 3 weeks. It's important that I get my IV therapy. I've started to do NAD therapy, right, to keep me away from brain fog and that decreased energy when you're running. And so I'm creative even in how I take care of myself because I know how important that is. But I think it's that you have to be able to recognize the signs and be open to changing and doing what you need to do to make yourself whole.
Well, good. So we have to be open to change. That's
Yes.
important. So let me jump into the chat. It's going a little wild. So let me figure out where it was all starting. I know I missed one. So how do you continue to build on your success?
So I'll go back to the strategic plan. So when I look at my business, I have KPIs, those metrics, because if you can't measure it, it does not exist, right? And so when I am looking at the ROI of my time and my meetings. I'm looking at, are we meeting our goals? Because number one, if we're not, that means I need to change something, right? And then I'm always particular about how I connect, not just network, but make those real connections. So I evaluate conferences that I go to. I have mentors, I have coaches. And so I talk to them. I'm asking them for introductions. I'm telling them and communicating what my goals are and where I see barriers or challenges in certain areas and getting advice on how they can help me. I will tell you, running a small business, I've been doing this for 36 years. There is nothing easy about it. But when you equip yourself with the right people, it can make life a lot easier. And so that's how I build on my success. I also build on my success by giving back and making sure that I am sharing time to mentor and support. Philanthropy is a big part of what we do. And I think that's really important because what I've noticed is the more I give, the more I get, right? And that's not just a money thing, it's time because everybody's busy, but there is always someone who needs your help.
So I'm going to ask you, since you've been doing this for so long, you challenged us to connect, go somewhere, and then connect with three people and understand our why. What does that look like for people who are starting out, who might be a little
Great
bit
question.
introverted?
So the first thing is, you know, how you hear people say, get that pitch, that elevator pitch. Understand what your value is. Oftentimes we get an idea as an entrepreneur and we just kind of hit the ground and we're just excited, right? And we're letting that excitement lead us. But I want you to step back and really think about what is my value or my unique selling proposition. I'm sure a lot of you have seen that USP term, right? And really think about how do I articulate that where someone will want to connect with me, will want to do business with me, because there are so many people out here, right, in business. What differentiates you from the next? And then when you go to that event, I often look at who's there, right? Are the companies there? Are the people there that I want to connect with and do business with? I know sometimes when you're going to an event, you don't always see who's on the list, but you can tell, right? You can tell a little bit about what's happening. And so when I go, it's not that I'm walking into a room of a sea of people. I'm going in strategically looking for who it is I set out to connect with. And so when I leave, I have a sense of accomplishment, right? Because I completed what I set out to do, and that's very important. Where we tend to get discouraged is when we're going to all of these events, right? Every time you leave your house, it costs money. It does, right? The dry cleaning, the gas, the time it takes to get ready. And so when you go to an event, you definitely want to have that feeling that this was worth my time because I understand my value.
Yep. Yep. Thank you. That's good to be able to have somebody walk you through it, because otherwise sometimes it feels like you're walking in there and that awkward what do I say thing. So thank you for that. I'm gonna
Absolutely.
look in the chat really quick because I just feel like I'm having a conversation and learning a lot myself, but I have to bring everybody in here. So if anyone has any questions in the any more in the chat, please do ask them, because I have more.
Yes, I saw something in the chat where someone was saying, I've been working within my educational network survey results to fuel my why and LinkedIn. And it caught my eye because oftentimes we don't leverage LinkedIn enough, right? We've got all these great connections, but we're not really leveraging them. And so the first thing I would say is go back. Look at that top fold. Is it really representing what you needed to say, right? So that it articulates your value. The other thing I would say is try to post at least 2 to 3 times a week, right? Post those wins, even those small ones that, it doesn't always have to be a huge win. It's about communicating. The beautiful thing about AI is that you can go in and you can ask the prompted to be a LinkedIn communications expert, right? And you can tell it, hey, I like to post at least 15, 20 times this month. Here's what's happening in my business, or this is what's happening on my journey. Help me to formulate at least 10 posts, one that excites people, right? That is positive and has impact. One that shares my value, right? And so think from that perspective. Like, that's why I say it's so important to understand, what do you want out of it? What are your outcomes that you're looking for? Because we have the platforms to obtain them. It's just, are we truly educated on how to use them?
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
And I had another question just from, unrepresented women. So, how can entrepreneurs from underrepresented backgrounds leverage their unique perspectives as business advantage?
There is nothing like diversity of thought.
Mhm.
And we do have a unique perspective that the rest of the world cannot speak on. And so, what you want to do is identify, how do I leverage that to gain attention for what it is that I'm doing? Oftentimes they'll say, no matter if it's good press or bad press, it's still press, right? But we want good press. And so we want to be prepared for the success that we want. When you think about the fact that Black women face barriers that people have no idea about, they think they know, but they don't really know your story. And so I want you to think about those key points that you can share and that you are willing to share that really help people to gain perspective, because each one of us has a unique story. And there's nothing like having someone who can change our perspective in a positive way. And so I would encourage everyone to really go back and think about your own personal journey and how it ties in to what you want to do in business.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
And I have another one while I'm waiting. I'm going to keep using up my questions. Was you talked about KPIs, and we really want to be able to be strategic and need to have metrics. Can you give an idea of, like, what do some of those metrics look like that we should be capturing?
Yeah, so the first thing I want us to understand is that technology really levels the playing field in our business. It really helps us to get a snapshot of what's working. So some of the things I do is for segmentation in my CRM system. So then when you hear me say CRM, that could be anything from Constant Contact to MailChimp, right? It's how you manage the people that you talk to. And what you want to look at is who's opening your email, right? Who buys every time you put something out, and you want to segment them, because the people who always open and always buy, you want to talk to them more, right? And you want to know who they are. You may personalize their communication a little bit more, so it doesn't seem like this could be for anybody. They know it's specifically for them. The other thing that I want to urge people to do is really use technology to streamline your processes. One of the things that I like to share is go through the process as if someone is a customer, right? To see what changes need to be made, or really to increase the customer experience. Using technology to streamline is a very good thing. And so I don't think we need to overlook that when we think about technology. Also, using technology for collaboration, like we're doing tonight, right? There are so many things we have at our fingertips that we're just not using.
Yep, and it's so important. So I definitely understand that from our, entrepreneur life, but it's also something great that we can bring back to our chapters. Metrics
Absolutely.
matter, and understanding who our customers are.
Yes.
And so you talked about uh, creativity in business. So what are some common misconceptions about creativity in business, and how do we address that?
I have one main one,
What's
is
that?
that it is only for artists or anyone that is considered a traditional creative. Creativity is for anybody that is in business. We all need to embody creativity. That is what separates us, right? That's the differentiator, is your innovation and creativity. That's what separates you from everybody else. And so when we hear that word, oftentimes we think about filmmakers and makeup artists and all types of people who identify as creatives, but creativity is for all of us.
That is great. So I hate to end. I'm gonna look really quick and see if there's anything um, else in there. I don't see if I have missed you because we have tons and tons of comments, which are wonderful. Throughout your presentation, I kept seeing things come up of here's what barriers were. So we're definitely have our creative thoughts going, and we'll bring in the habits. So with that, I just want to say that now that we've explored the power of the creativity in entrepreneurship. Um, Thank you so much for joining us tonight, giving us these nuggets, and I'm sure
Thank
some of us will
you.
be trying to be in touch.
Yes, thank you. And I'll end with this. Don't make everything transactional, make it relational.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And now, as we end this segment, I will turn it back over to our Madam Chair, Katrina Kerr. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give our speaker a virtual round of applause. That was awesome. That was awesome. And Dr. Phillips, if you could please put in the chat or let us know how people can get in touch with you if they would like to connect with you, LinkedIn or your website, just in case people have more questions after this webinar. If you could please provide that information. I would like to thank all of our members and guests who joined us tonight. Your presence truly enriches our webinar experience. Tomorrow is our third webinar for the week. Economic resilience, invest in small businesses of color to strengthen local economies and build resilience with Reverend Dr. Jamal Harrison Bryant and Dr. Carrie Bryant. Please register. I know this is going to be an awesome one. Then on Thursday, we have an article written by one of our committee members, Keys to Personal and Business Real Estate, Successful Entrepreneurship. Then Friday is Buy Black Friday, where we are promoting backing entrepreneurs that are featured in our NCBW Black Business Directory. Then Saturday, we have a small business toolkit. Begin or enhance your entrepreneurship journey. This toolkit has a lot of tips. If you are not an entrepreneur, this toolkit will definitely get your creative juices going so that you can start your business and enhance your business if you are already an entrepreneur. And all of these items are listed on the NCBW Small Business Week website. And you see the QR code right here. You can scan that or grab the website right there. And you'll see all of this information on there. A special acknowledgement goes to our national sponsors, Coca-Cola and Symetra. Next slide. Is there another slide? Okay. I want to give a sincere appreciation to our National Economic Empowerment Committee. Their dedication to advocating for African American, Black women and girls in the realm of economic empowerment is truly commendable. With that, we have come to the end of our presentation to the night, and I wish you all a good night, and thank you, and have a good night.